The election's going on. Perhaps you've heard of it, the presidential election, President Obama, Mitt Romney. How will this be decided? It's still kind of early, really, but when you come down to it, this is a pocketbook election. Rex Nutting from MarketWatch is here. Rex, you did some real spade work here and coming up with your own calculus about how voters might go depending on the economy. Explain to us what you've done. It's in your column, but explain it to us.
Well, you know, I do think that the economy is going to be the major factor in the election in November. And so what I tried to look at was not just the unemployment rate, but the things that really affect voters' pockets, their income, gas prices, house prices, things like that, that would really affect the perceptions.
Right. Now, what's interesting is, you follow the markets. We all follow the markets, right? Every day there's a barrage of data, barrage of numbers, all these kinds of things. But for the average voter, they're not really following those things as closely. It's much more nebulous for the average voter, right? They can see gas prices. Maybe they get a sense of what home prices are. They have a sense of how much money is in their wallet after all their bills are out. What's the bottom line for voters? How are they going to really come around on this one?
Well, I think the key for voters is not really what the level is of level unemployment or level of inflation, but whether things are getting better or worse. And so what I tried to do was look at how things have evolved over the last 6 months, figuring that that's about as long as people's memories for the economy is. And so people have sort of a vague perceptions of how things are going, and we tried to put sort of some charts together that would show sort of how people are looking at it. I'm not trying to be real scientific about this in any way.
Yeah. So what do you run through a couple of these? Let's run through a few of these. Tell me what you think. What's the most important one, and then kind of backtrack through that.
Yeah. Well, I think the jobs is the most important one, and over the last 6 months, jobs have increased at around a 2% annual pace. That's not great job growth, but it is some job growth. Problem there, of course, is that it's slowed in the last few months. And of course, if Europe really hits us, then we're going to see negative, we're going to see job losses, and that will really impact voters, psyche and their perceptions.
Yeah, and then gas prices. Do you have a car? Do you have a car?
Yeah, I think the gas prices are going to be sort of where they are now, and I think that's probably a positive for Obama right now, because I think gas prices are one of those things that's very visible. And if people remember $4 a gallon gas in the spring and it's $3.50, then they're going to kind of give them a slide on that. Yeah.
Let's talk about consumer sentiment, because there are a lot of different outfits that try to measure this, but it really is a kind of hard thing to get at, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's so psychological. It's so vague, really, what drives it. A lot of it is gas prices, stock prices, and just what people hear about in the news. And so I included that indicator just to sort of get a feel of how consumers or voters are reacting to the most recent news, and really how their feelings are so volatile over the last year. They've gone from extreme pessimism to some optimism back to extreme pessimism again.
Yeah. And all right, let's put it this way. Obviously, the economy's in a better place than it was in January 2009. I mean, we're really at the very depths of it all there. Do you think we've come far enough, though? And I guess the answer is probably no, and that's why this election's so close. Do you think we've come far enough for this to be a comfortable election for President Obama? Or even
not at all. I think that a lot of people really perceive his policies as a failure. A lot of people think that we're in worse shape than we were then. A lot of people have lost their houses. The unemployment rate's higher. So I don't think it's given that most people think that we are better off than they were when Obama took over.
One more question. Okay, if that's true, how does Mitt Romney capitalize on that? I mean, 59 economic points, that's great. Most people can't follow that. How does he capitalize on that?
Well, I think he's got to go back to what he was doing earlier and really just talk about the economy every day and not talk about really anything else. I think that's his strongest suit right now, and he should just lean on it.